Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's call. And we are very sad that Yoni lost a dear family friend, her rabbi from growing up, and she is tonight at the Shiva. So we are sending her our love and support during this time. And so the amazing call she had planned is going to be next week. But it really gave us a chance to talk to people and find out what was the topic that was most coming up for everybody. And so I want you guys to play a little game with me and take a second to write in the chat what food group you most feel confusion on around portions. Is it protein? Is it accessories? Is it vegetables? Is it carbohydrates? Like when you think, I know plate it, but I really am not sure what an appropriate portion is for me in which food group. And if it's all of them, write all of them that apply. Okay, so if you question confusion about proteins and accessories, somebody wrote protein. Who else feels, what food group do you feel confused in? Do you feel like you don't really have clarity as to what works for you or what you're putting on your plate, or, you know, you're not really sure? Protein at dinner, FFCs. FFC Vita says, easy FFCs that aren't fruit. I love that. Great specificity, Beth. Amazing. Okay. So anybody feeling confusion about portions of vegetables, or we all know veggies most and we know what most means? I'm just curious. Are we all honest that we know what most means? Yeah, if you know what veggies most means, write most in the chat now. Let me see. Most. Are you confident that you are veggies most? Quantity at FFC at lunchtime as it relates to FFC. Most. Good. Amazing. Sarah Friedman, most. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Most. Some days it's veggies more. So it's veggies some. Okay, most. Okay, great. So here's what's really interesting, guys. If you're really sure you're veggies most, are you first bite veggie? Who here is first bite veggie? Right in first bite. Who here is first bite veggie? I'm not seeing a lot of chat flashing across my screen. Most of the time. First bite most of the time, 80% of the time. First bite to try, not at breakfast. Well, that's okay because they're extra credit at breakfast. Anybody like feel confident to say their first bite veggie? Working on it. Okay. Very interesting. You guys see where I'm going with this? Isn't that an interesting question? What's our first bite? First bite at dinner. Often eat a small salad while figuring out dinner for sure. Lunch, no. Okay. So let's go. We're going to go around because we're going to start with plating. Who's water first at lunch and dinner? 16 ounces first. 16 ounces first, then you start eating. Yes. Yes. Amazing. Yay. I'm seeing a lot of people saying water first. Okay. Not a full 16 ounces, but you start with water. Okay. So when it comes to plate it, and I'm going to give a little bit of a spiel for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to open the floor. So I'm literally timing myself, and you guys hold me accountable. Okay. 5 minutes and no more. In order to figure out what's the right portion for you of accessories and proteins and carbs, you first have to start to make sure that your veggies most. You want to plate your vegetables first and make sure half your plate is full of veggies, and at dinner, 2/3 of your plate is full of veggies. And if you're at a snack, again, 2/3 of your plate, you want to really have full of veggies. If you have a bigger plate, and if you have a teeny plate, half veggies. Okay. Once you've done that, half the battle of portions is already done, right? I mean, there's only so much room left on your plate for the carb and the protein. Most of us plate our carb and our protein first, and that's why we feel some confusion, because we're not plating our veggies first. We are then accommodating our veggies to balance out however much protein and carb we're taking. And I do the same thing. It's a mindset shift that I always make when I'm in weight loss mode. I'm thinking about what vegetable am I having at this meal? And I fill up half my plate, and only then do I add the rest of the food. And then there's that moment where you're like, but I want to eat all of this, but it doesn't fit on my plate. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you want to eat that whole big chicken breast or like that leg and the thigh. You want to eat 2 of them, and you have them, and then there's your plate, and it's already full of vegetables. But you could put them on first, right? And then you fill the vegetables and you stack them up and you try to even it out. But no, when you're really in weight loss mode, you plate your veggies first. And then you look at the rest of your plate and you say, okay, half of this is going to be my carb and half of it's going to be my protein. And then just like More Sure, you plate your protein next. And then you plate your FFC, whether it's brown rice or it's beans or it's lentils or it's whatever. Now this works on a plate, and I'm going to talk about a bowl or some other kind of like thing in a minute. But let's just talk about a plate. Okay. So step number 1 is actually plate veggies first, then plate your protein, then plate your carb. And here's what I have found to be how to overcome the resistance of, but that doesn't look like enough salmon for me. Because I've had that thought, like that doesn't quite look like enough. I don't know that I'm okay with this. I take the rest of it and I put it aside, and I say, if I'm still hungry, I can go back and put more vegetables on my plate and then replate the food if I want to, always. And I have to calm myself down. And then, especially when you're looking to move ranges, if you're in and there are real ranges, guys, there's that 200 to 180 range that you are going to eat differently from 180 to 160. And then there's that 160 to 140 range. And then there's 140 to 125. And their plates do look a little bit different. And so to get over our own resistance to looking at food and seeing what's going to fill us up a little bit differently, we always are going to be eating a full plate of food. How many times we're going back for More Sure is going to be dependent on our weight range and how hungry we are. So there was 2 clear points there. Number 1, fill up your plate with veggies first, then go to your protein, then go to your carb for good portion control. And then number 2, if you feel resistance to what that looks like on your plate on a separate plate the other food that you think you'll want to eat, and then you can replate veggies first again. So that's 2 points. Use More Sure and get honest about where you want to go and what your body needs versus what your mind thinks a portion is. And if you've spent a long time in an upper weight range, to you, a portion of salmon may really look like a huge piece. And if you see a smaller piece, you're like, that's not even food. That's a taste. I know I thought that. I have 3 minutes left. So I want to give one more point on portions. When you're using loose carbs, like a lot of people said, not fruit, and you want a trackable carb, like Alana calls them closed foods, trackable carbs, you have to come to some place of, I need a way to measure. Not to measure myself against a perfect portion, but a way to quantify what I'm having. And there's a difference. Measuring yourself against a perfect portion is how we get into Weight Watchers' crazy town mindset. Having a way to quantify is where honesty and accountability comes in. So it can be your tablespoon. I have 8 tablespoons of rice. And it's not a real tablespoon because we know it's just your kitchen tablespoon and they're not heaping. And I have done this so many times with my PB2 powder. I heap the crap out of that thing. And so I switched to a teaspoon because I just like do a mountain of PB2, but it's on a teaspoon. So I know it's like, that's how I compensate, because PB2, like on a flat thing, I don't know, it just doesn't speak to me. So I have to be honest. And when I'm tracking, you better say heaping, but I can't think like it's really a teaspoon. But you have to have some way that you're quantifying the stuff. So if you want to have beans and lentils, which are amazing FFCs for weight loss, or you want to have pasta, you want to have all of these kind of things, then you need to have a concept of how much you're having. So this is where you can decide, do I feel like a measuring cup is triggering for me? like a half cup measuring cup or a third cup or a fourth cup, however much it is. Like, do I feel like that's triggering for me? Do I want to use a ramekin? A lot of people love ramekins because they're beautiful and it's just easy to quantify how much you're having. Or do I want to use a spoon and just do it by spoons? And I've seen success with all of those ways. And that's kind of the info I wanted to give at the beginning, and then we'll answer your questions. And I think we'll all learn a ton from that. So Michal, you're managing the chat. You want to give me your feedback and what do people really want to know with that as the jumping off point?
I think people came down to, you've mentioned it, the proteins, the accessories. I think the accessories, I think
good one.
not
Yes.
everyone said it, but I think, and the FFC at lunch, which we just talked about, someone did ask portion based on weight. There wasn't this to be mindset. Like that's something that I know that you talk about a lot. Personally.
Again, I've just seen it from myself and just coaching enough people losing 80, 50, 60 pounds. Like everybody's different. How are you supposed to have a bigger, I can't, but you'll tell me what Sorrel said, because like only a little bit came across my screen.
But plate during one meal and a smaller plate during another. I'll answer this one. Yeah. I use the same plate. I actually have my milchik and my fleischick are about this size. I'll put it against a 40 ounce. I don't know if you can see this. Brussels sprouts going off the table. I use the same plate for, breakfast is different to bowl, but basically my lunch and my dinner are exactly the same size. They're small. It's my small fleischick milchik plate. And it keeps me accountable. And I will, in regards to the losing weight, I've lost around 70, 75 pounds. My eating habits from starting at 240 to being at 170 is very, very different. I am a much bigger bulk vegetable eater than I was before. And I do crave more protein. So there are times that I have to eat my veggies first. And this is something I'm learning at dinner, eat my veggies first. And then if I'm still hungry, I will go back for protein, but I will then go back. I will go back first for veggies and then go back for protein.
Exactly.
Because I'm for some reason, and it could be winter. I also think that there's parts of that I just need more food. So there is a difference. I definitely ate, ironically, far less when I was heavier, when I started to be volume wise compared to what I eat now. I've learned how to, Alana talks about bulk eating, and I've had the weight loss surgery. So I wasn't able to bulk eat. I've now taught my stomach to bulk eat vegetables. I still can't bulk eat protein. So it's just for a lot of people out there. But in regards to my plates, they're the same size.
So for me, that wouldn't be true. When in most of the time in maintenance, I am using a 12-inch plate at dinner, but I only have one plate. I don't more short. If I'm in weight loss mode, I will use my 9-inch plate. And like I said, I will go back and I will drink water and I will refill on veggies and protein as needed. But in maintenance, I know that 12-inch plate, 75% veggies, protein, like that is just perfect for me. And I don't need to go through that whole process. It just works. And that works for me. So, there is a line here and a journey that you go through on that topic. And let's head over to accessories after we hear from Ayelet. I see her hand is up.
Hi guys. Sorry. Very, very sorry for, in which movie is it? When they say tardiness all the time? Clueless. In Clueless, I think they talk about tardiness all the time, right? Okay. So I wanted to bring in on the idea of protein and portions and plates and the meals, like that was just brought in. I know I missed some of the other things, but a question that I get a lot that I think it's very important when people are trying to figure out what is Alana meat and what is to be, is that if breakfast is 50-50 protein FFC, but lunch is supposed to be half vegetables, 25-25. Now, again, not everybody is math people, but I really want to emphasize that this is not portions, it's proportions. That means, when you all learned basic maths and you kept on making things smaller and smaller so that a quarter is the same thing, like 2/8 and a quarter are the same thing, okay? 25 is the same thing as 50-50. It doesn't mean that how can your protein and FFC at breakfast, people are like, well, how can it be that my breakfast, but then that can also be my protein and FFC at lunch? Yes. One of the biggest things that you have to remember, and this is where Michal was saying in terms of bulking up the vegetables and how maybe you were eating less when you were heavier, then you start realizing you're eating more. Your vegetables have to be twice the amount at lunch of the protein. Your vegetables have to be twice the amount at lunch of the FFC. The protein and the FFC are the same ratio, are the same proportions as they are at breakfast. With the try, track, and see aspect of it, you need to figure out now what that means for you for breakfast that keeps you full until lunch, what that means for lunch that keeps you, let's say, full until dinner. You might find, wow, eggs keep me really full when I have them for breakfast with 2 slices of toast, but maybe at lunch, it might look like something else. So again, keep on remembering that although as annoying as try, track, and see might be, that is really where it's so individualized. Like I've had somebody tell me that eggs don't keep them full for breakfast, but a yogurt does. And I'm like, just a yogurt with some fruit does not keep me full for breakfast, or I need to play around my FFCs with the starch and fruit at breakfast. Okay. So again, it's really something to think about. And then one more note that I have found for me, again, in terms of the weight loss, I think we've all lost, Lily and Michal, similar weight loss journeys. I've lost 50 pounds. And in the beginning, and I would say even probably still till now, my rule of thumb in my head that I was always like stuck on was, how much can I eat and still lose weight? That was like my challenge to myself, really honing in and being so happy that this isn't about deprivation. And then from that starting point, if I found like I ever petered off or plateaued, then I knew where I needed to play up some things. It wasn't always the volume, but it is what sometimes made up the volume. And I'd love now, like, I think that leads very well into in terms of accessories or the kinds of proteins or the kinds of FFCs that then sometimes you're having.
I can't see. What did Rena ask me? Michal, can you give me a shout there?
Rena, do you think there are people who just can't bulk eat? I found that if I bulk eat veggies, I don't lose.
So what's really cool, Rena, is I would say that there are definitely seasons of life that's true, not just for you, but maybe for everybody. For me, losing weight was a bulk eating exercise. Like it was a personal challenge. I have IBS and it triggered it real bad. And I had to really suck it up and own that I couldn't bulk eat for a very, very long time. And my portions really of vegetables, like I'm saying specifically vegetables. Once I reached my goal weight range, I had to stop bulk eating vegetables like I was in weight loss. I was getting like pregnant bloated when I did that. And it was not enjoyable for me. So I definitely think that there are seasons of life where, yeah, and definitely bodies. And I've coached people in this group who are not volume eaters. But when it comes to bulk eating, just, everybody's different. And I think it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the call of what our mind thinks a portion is. Not everybody grew up in a house where their portion in their mind is huge, like they became overweight because of emotional things or just 2 pounds at a time, but the wrong way, in the wrong direction. Year by year, those 2 pounds just crept on. Not everybody got there through bulk eating not good food. So I think if you're somebody like, I know I have eaten like a whole pizza in my life and made myself sick. So like I have the capability of bulk eating. So for me, healing that had to go through bulk eating vegetables to then get to that space of, if I know I'm in a place where it's a bulk moment, it better be vegetables and I'll suffer the stomach ache versus like doing something that's going to really harm my health long-term versus just a stomach ache in the short term. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't,
I think
feel
also
free
we
to
have
follow
to
up.
get rid of the quote unquote shaming. Like if you're not a volume eater,
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Some people are not. It's
Yeah.
not like, to be a cool kid, you got to say, I'm a volume eater if I'm doing 2B. 2B can work for you. And that is part of also knowing yourself. Not forget the stomachache part. Maybe volume eating triggers something else in you. Like that,
Yeah.
Lily and I would always talk about for so long. At a certain place of fullness, we kind of like one stomach shuts down and we grow a whole nother stomach somehow. And then you can just keep on eating, you know? So I think that's also really important, is to know yourself. Like, you know, if certain things don't, don't work. Michal, read the next question, because I think that's key. I know Lily has an answer.
I just want to say, just finish that comment off, where I wasn't a bulk eater. Okay, I couldn't get it in, and there are times I still can't get it in, and I have IBS just like Lily, and I cannot. The last couple weeks have been fun, but in regards to when Alana talks about the bulk eating in the beginning, and she talks about how she's a bulk eater, I literally had triggers because I had the weight loss surgery and I couldn't get that amount of food in me. And it was sort of having to train my body to be able to eat the amount of, get to veggies most. I wasn't getting to veggies most. Because I just couldn't eat that. So now I just eat my veggies more times during the day, so that I don't have to force myself to bulk eat, especially at night, which is a harder meal for me to get in. Right? I have far less veggies at night than I should, but I'm having a snack of veggies in the morning, and I'm having
Let's take should out, Michal. You're amazing.
I am.
Let's take out should.
Should. I am not. What was like? What did I say should for? I said should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, you did. But it's not should. It just doesn't work for you to eat that much veggies
at one time at night. Right, to have 75% veggies at night, 98
at one meal.
At one meal. But by the way, there are times I can. I just now have added in the winter, veggie snack in the morning and veggie snack in the afternoon, and it's made sure that I got to veggies most. In other facts, which is, do we feel like certain veggies can give us a weight gain? I think eggplant is more weight gain for me. Alana, can I ask, are you having your eggplant at night, or are you having it at lunchtime? That would be my question. Like, when are you having the eggplant?
Because certain veggies can do different things at different times of day. And also same thing, raw versus cooked. And
probably more at night. Yeah.
Like, right. It's the same as the green bean conversation that we have all the time.
It may not only. My question is, if it's probably also more at night, what are the differences in the accessories then? Like, if it's always at night, but you're making it eggplant pizza, is it the eggplant, or is it maybe the kind of cheese? If you're having it, there's so many things that I think are so incredible to be able to, to check, that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, also know that it's very possible. Lily had this with eggplant, it's very possible that it bloats you. But what I love that Alana actually says about this is, it doesn't make you gain weight. Like, sometimes you might,
I call it delayed weight loss.
Right. It's delayed weight loss. You might maybe see, even if I have certain vegetables that I don't physically feel bloated, I feel fine the next morning and I go to the bathroom, but a certain amount of it, the scale will go up the next day. But I also know, like Lily said, delayed weight loss the next day, assuming I'm, stayed consistent, then it'll come off, and I don't even feel the bloat. It's not like it is.
And that's something to say, that eggplant, hypothetically, is not even like anywhere near a carb. It's so fibrous. It's really we want to talk about shoulds. It shouldn't cause weight gain, but it's it for me. Like, and it wasn't just the cheese. I could remember I tried 9% cheese. I tried every kind of way because I loved eggplant so much. And it was sudden. You worked for me in weight loss until it just stopped working. And it was then always a weight gain. And it was so disappointing. And disappointment and that frustration comes from disappointed expectations, an expectation that for Alana, and in the book, and I've heard this, Alana, Michal and I were talking about this just today, this like, but it works for so many people. Like, what am I doing wrong? It works for so many people. I want that too. Bulk eating works for so many people, but it doesn't work for me. Drinking 7 liters of water works for so many people. I'm like struggling at 3. Like, whatever story it is you're telling yourself why you can't be successful with this, it's not true. You're going to do it your way. but plated at its core isn't bulk eating. And the water on 2B Mindset isn't over drinking and isn't these excessive things that a lot of people do that works for them, because they are bulk consumers. And so they're also bulk consumers of water. And so I think that knowing yourself and accepting who you are is going to help you ease the process a lot more and be like curious and inspired and like by what someone else is doing, and then put it through the filter of, does this feel good in my body? Let's talk about accessories. Before we go into accessories, I want to divide accessories into 4 categories, okay? Accessories like salad dressings, accessories like dips, and dips are different from dressings. And I just want to be really clear, dips are thick. Okay, number 1, they have considerable more oil to water or vinegar ratio than dressings. So make sure that you create a difference in your mind between a dip and a dressing. Then there's actual healthy fats, peanut butter, olive oil, tahina, things like that. And then there's loose ones, nuts, seeds, tortilla chips, soup croutons. Don't forget those soup croutons. But look, I'm eating so much soup. Yeah, you having croutons, soup croutons. What else are accessories that would kind of go in that kind of loose granola cereal? Okay, so I want you to try to direct your portion accessory question. Which category, when I break it down like that, is actually most challenging for you? Put in the chat, guys. There's enough people here. Everyone should be with something different. Or nobody struggles with accessories, but I know that's not true. Nuts, okay? Who else?
I also have cheese. Can we add cheese?
Cheese, oh good. Cheese is a good one. Cheese is loose.
I have a lot of
cheese is loose. Avocado in the dip, thick category. What else? Nobody else? Everybody's
like
just cheese and nuts?
You guys also might find within accessories.
Mayo.
Again,
oh, good one. Mayo is that
good
thick
one.
dip side. Thick dip. Cheese, definitely nuts. Excellent. Okay, anybody else? Interesting, right? How no one's really struggling with putting too much salad dressing on. Almond flour, good one. Good one. Almond flour, excellent. In nuts. Anybody else?
I think, I don't know if anybody's written this, or maybe people
dried
are
fruit like raisins. Excellent.
Dried fruit. I think a big question, yes, also when separating things
no,
out.
almond flour,
so almond flour is not an
It's an accessory.
Because it's made just only out of almonds, and almonds are an accessory. It's a nut. It's not like, you know, oat flour and things that are FFCs and spelt flour and things like that. It's not a regular flour.
Okay.
But I think what is also sometimes harder to wrap our head around is then when we want more of one, like, are you thinking one accessory in my salad? But let's say I want avocado in my salad, and, you know, like, where I find that very often comes into play a lot.
Okay, great. So let's break this down. Yeah.
Did you see Sabrina's comment?
Yeah, what is it? Please.
Because I have to say dips, and this is just came up on Shabbos, but more because it means more challah to go with it. Like the need to have dips with something is a problem for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so let's start with nuts, because I think that came up the most, and we'll include almond flour in that. Nuts for weight loss are really an accessory, and I love nuts. I would say 90% of the time, if I feel like I should be losing weight and I'm not, I can check into my nuts, and they are not in alignment with weight loss, and they are easily in alignment with a fitness goal of healthy weight gain or maintenance. Okay. And I could be doing everything else in weight loss mode. And it can be something that's really was a block I've experienced many a time. So I really feel you. And I'm going to tell you just a really clear way to know if you feel me, if we resonate on a nut lovers. If you're using whole nuts, you probably have a problem. If you're using whole nuts, anytime I'm eating whole nuts now, I know do not anticipate a weight loss. Slivered, mixed with nuts and seeds, where you can track by the tablespoon, that's going to be your friend.
And also toast them on your own. That's a big one. Whole nuts and toasted, salted. And Alana finally explained this. Just one time, it was so simply put. But if you see a lot of her recipes, let's say like the PB pie has unsalted peanuts in the crust, or unsalted pistachios, because she always speaks about that magic potion of addictiveness of the perfect level of fat, salt, and sweet, like the Oreo cookie that was actually generated scientifically to be the most addictive cookie. So when you have toasted, salted nuts, the combination of the fat that's in the nut with the salt that from them being salted, it'll make you keep on craving more. And therefore, like what Lily said, if you for sure slivered almonds, crush the pecans, like 8 pecan halves crushed go a much longer way than just 8 pecan halves. You know, like think about crushing it and putting it on top of your oatmeal as opposed to how many otherwise whole pecans you're putting in and things like that. And then if I always like one of those prep things, I will take a tray of pecans, a tray of slivered almonds, a tray of pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, and I will spray and lightly salt my own as opposed to bought. And I have that in bulk to add to salads and things like that afterwards. Then, for the week, it makes a big difference. I love, Lily, what you said about if you're eating them whole, then if you're
not only that, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. If they are in a ramekin with chocolate chips, do not expect a weight loss. Who hasn't felt super righteous when you took like 8 almonds and like a few chocolate chips? And I don't know, I like to add some bran flakes to that. And
or peanut butter, natural peanut butter on top.
And you're like, oh my God, I am so healthy. I am rocking this health journey. And then you're like, and I am not losing weight. And it's like not even big. It's like, a few tablespoons and you're like, this is nothing. It's not nothing. That's why craisins, almonds, chocolate chips, baby, every time, right? I don't even keep craisins in the house anymore. I use dates instead of craisins because I don't know what it is about craisins, but they have that tangy sweet, like they just go in other stuff that not salads. They never make it into my salads. Dates work better for me because also I can take one date and chop it up, and I just know I'm having a date. It's just okay. So that's the same thing as a whole nuts. So let's talk about raisins. And first of all, are you really going to the health food store? Are you really going to the health food store and getting the like naturally sweetened ones? If you're not, you're getting like a ton of added sugar you're not aware of. Not only is it dried fruit, but like now think about, you took a bunch of grapes. It's now a tablespoon. A bunch is a tablespoon, and you sugared your grapes. Oh, maybe not the best move, right? Not the best weight loss move. Did someone talk about almond flour?
Well, so I want to bring up what Sorrel wrote, because take a deep breath. You're okay is what I'm saying first. She wrote, my banana mug cake has 2 tablespoons of almond flour and 6 chocolate chips. So first I'm thinking, awesome, she nails it. But then I realized she thinks that's a concern. I thought it was okay because I thought almond flour is FFC. Almond flour is not FFC, but that's okay because the banana is your FFC. The egg in it is part of your protein. Put a dollop more yogurt on top of there to get more protein than just one egg. Because I don't know about you, one egg was never just enough. That's only 6 grams of protein in just an egg. Okay. And then between the 2 tablespoons of almond flour and 6 chocolate chips, you're within that, the guideline of when we're talking about combining accessories. And this is why it's really important. Just like an FFC does not only mean starch or only a fruit, you can figure out how to make it work together. You can combine accessories to be under, between 80 and 100 calories for the meal. And that would be the almond flour and some chocolate chips, like all mixed in, like you're good there.
Okay. I love the next question, the working out in portions. Alana has a great video in the BODI specifically on that. And she says it clearly. don't throw the phone at me. If you're in weight loss mode, don't eat more when you work out. You'll have undermined the entire point. If you're in, I want to build healthy, lean muscle and look sculpted, and I'm okay putting on muscle, which means my weight loss will not be the same, then try track and see. Are you still losing weight, but you're actually seeing incredible inch loss? Like, is that what's happening? Or are you just overeating because you worked out?
Wait, Lily, can I just differentiate a few things there that you said? Because Alana has said it in additional videos also. When Lily's also talking about if you want to be working out and building muscle, that does not mean now have FFCs to my heart's content. That's actually more of a protein thing. The FFC question that Alana specifically answers, depends on when you're working out, okay? If you're not working out at night, a lot of people are like, well, I work out, so I must need a carb at night. Because they're thinking about working out in the morning. Sometimes if you are a person who works out in the evening, then maybe a little bit earlier before dinner or at some point, a fruit might then be helpful. It doesn't mean now let me have a whole portion of rice with dinner. Okay, she very much, the whole point of 2B is to educate. And when she goes through those food group videos, if you really understand the purpose of FFCs, if you're not working out at night, you don't need that extra energy than at night when you're in weight loss mode, okay? And first and foremost, what Alana says in terms of working out and 2B is you most probably just need to be adding water. That is the first and foremost thing that you need to be asking yourself, that if you've added working out, that might be what you need, okay?
We're in the last 5 minutes, so I want to hit the other areas of accessories that you guys had questions on, and that's dips. Dips are really thick, okay? If you're talking, like a fourth of an avocado, like doesn't feel like that much depending on the size of your avocado, okay? But if you're talking about each serving of FFC of accessory is 50 calories, and you can have up to 2, I want to be honest with you. When I'm having 2 to 3, I am in a higher weight range than when I am having 1 to 2. And it is 1 to 2. It is not always 100 calories. Okay. It's up to 2. And so I definitely see a difference when I'm in the 140s versus I'm in the low 130s and how many accessories I'm having. I could eat and also if you're somebody who thinks that they don't need a carb at lunch, you probably are having too many accessories. I see this over and over and over again. If you are skipping the carb at lunch, you are probably getting those calories from your accessories. You're not really skipping them. But the other thing, that's what I wanted to bring up when you had said about working out, Alana does put a potato in her vegetable soup and calls it an accessory. Because in the end, it is 50 calories. And she has called a date in her salad at night an accessory, okay? Or a potato in her vegetable soup. That's a big pot of soup. So it's around 50 calories. We don't count calories per an accessory. So again, if you are working out at night and you really feel like you need a half a green apple, okay? You can make that one of your accessories at dinner in your salad around. That's where the try, track, and see comes in. And realize these are all options. There were very much times in the winter where I crave healthy fats and I really don't need carbs so much. And I would have maybe, a little less carb at lunch and intentionally have a little more avocado in my salad. But you have to do that with an intention and track it and then really see, is this actually working for me? Or 2 days later, I'm overeating carbs, right? In not a day to day, but in a zoomed out of a week, what's really happening? Is this choice making me feel deprived? Are a few chocolate chips working for me? Am I put the chocolate chips in my oatmeal? It's very different than putting them with nuts, okay, in a little bowl and having them as a snack. It's a completely different psychology. It's a completely different experience. So when it comes to accessories, I think they're the hardest thing to be honest about. But also they're the thing that can be the difference between having the most delicious salad and not being afraid of them, and really leaning in and enjoying them and not being afraid. And also where, especially when you've been doing this a long time and you have a lot of recipes that you love and you're just throwing those pecans in and then you're putting the tahina dressing on. And this is where I go into dips. Tahina gul meat, raw tahina, nut butter real peanut butter, olive oil, coconut oil, all those things have 50 calories a teaspoon, not a tablespoon. They have 150 calories, okay? And so a salad dressing, which has a lot more lemon juice or vinegar in it, Alana says over and over again, you're not really getting fat from salad dressing, right? But mayo-based dressings, she waters down, because if they're super thick mayo and they're mostly mayo, or like if you notice when she makes a lot of her dressings that she reminds her recipes with avocado and these things, she puts them in the blender and actually adds in vegetables. And it like tremendously bulks them up, or herbs, or all these other things where you get to have a lot of that feeling and that texture and that creaminess that you want, but you're not doing it in a way that's going to compromise your weight loss. And I'm going to go back to the beginning and say, this does look different in different weight ranges, guys. Like you have more leeway, 200 to 170. Then you're going to see 170 to 150. Then you're going to see 150 to 130. Like there is a difference in your accessories. And so you don't have to, when you're first learning the program and maybe you're losing your first 50 pounds, like you want to keep track, because then it's going to be easy to make a tiny tweak. You're not even going to be annoyed to water down your dressing a little bit. You're like, I don't really care. I'll add another squish of lemon. Doesn't have to be water, right? Or you're going to be like, oh, I can switch from whole nuts to slivered. It's not such a big deal. But if you try to do all these things day one, you are going to feel restricted. So take a deep breath and like give yourself time to grow into it, and start with the way we talked about the call from the beginning. Am I really plating half my veggies first? Am I really drinking water first? Then how's my protein and how's my FFC? After all that's in line, then we'll look and see, hey, what's happening with all the mayo that's going on that cabbage over there? Maybe that's why we can figure out that the accessories are a problem. But it's hard to figure out if accessories are your problem when you're not really veggies most. And it's like a few tablespoons of butter, not for a bag of broccoli, but like per 2 cups of broccoli, right? So it's about being honest and checking in. And that's 8:45. Even though, you know, 2B isn't about measuring, I feel like if I knew how much a protein serving was, it would help me be more objective about our plate. So this is what I would tell you, Rena, and like from the bottom of my heart, fill a 9-inch plate with vegetables, half. Take a sliced apple, put it in the corner, and see, does a thigh fit on your plate? Does a half a breast fit on your plate? Be honest, what fits there? That's your starting portion, and then you're more sure. That's why I said at the front of the call, one of the hardest things for me was looking at that size piece of salmon and being like, no way. There's that saying, no shit, Sherlock. Like, ooh, really?
My
That's
favorite.
what the question was. And then I'm supposed to more sure. So look at it. Alana says often she'll have 2 leg and thighs for dinner, but she more shored it. She didn't put 2 leg thighs on her plate. She had, you know, a leg thigh and her veggies, and then more shored and came back for more.
I think also just in terms of a basic guideline, though, whoever does not know this part when it comes to protein, okay, and this will also then affect in terms of your entire day holistically. A protein portion, when Alana says protein keeps you full, right? Proteins keep us full. That's a minimum of 10 grams. So if you think you're doing something, you know, cool, or I'm saving calories or whatever, and your breakfast is 4 egg whites, and that's it, because you think that that should be better than 1 egg plus 2 additional whites or things like that, you may not be having enough protein, okay, or other things. So the minimum is 10 grams. I can tell you personally, 10 grams at that level, just 10 grams is not enough for me to keep me full in a meal, you know, so I need more than 10 for lunch and for dinner, you know, and then depending on, then, you know, start playing around with it. But also what Lily was saying in terms of dinner, very often people are like, give me all the chicken, all, you know, like Lily was saying, give me the 2 thighs and like whatever. Go back to your breakfast and lunch, and what were your proteins there? How is your whole day being balanced and keeping you full throughout?
Yeah. Okay, guys, I hope this was really a question. You have an egg and a Pro-20 morning. Look, I have 30 grams of protein in the morning. I have 30 grams in the morning. Okay, like again, and I have a fruit and a 4th cup of oatmeal, and that holds me for till like 2 p.m. Like, and sometimes I'll have a veggie snack, like between just veggies, but like not always. But that I have 30 grams of protein at lunch, more like 25. In maintenance at dinner, 20 to 30. In weight loss at dinner, I could be that 4-egg white girl. Okay. I could be the 4-egg white girl.
And I think also that also depends, like you were saying, where's your weight range right now?
Right. Like, and I'm talking about like if in the 130s to the 120s versus in the 140s, I'm like 30 to 50 at night. Like, again, like you're going to see that. And like, and I can maintain 140 at that, no problem. So there is a weight range. There is a certain level. Also, I didn't go from 210 to 140 overnight. I went, it was, you know, like 210 over 40. I have a completely different body. I mean, like, I can't tell you how much of that is like muscle that I put on over those 2.5 years. And now 3-4 years of working out 6 days a week. Like, I got a lot of muscle. So it's different. And I will tell you, I wear a watch, and on Shabbat, I burn 1350 calories. Now it's not exact, right? On an average day, I'm about 2,300. Okay. That's the difference between what I hypothetically, right? Like on a day I'm not active, like just my body, right? Versus me doing a workout, walking around, my daily things. And these aren't exact. I don't count calories, so I wouldn't know exactly how much I'm eating. But that gives you also a concept that I teach a lot, you know, about Shabbat, about like, if I would eat like I would on a normal day, I wouldn't have, I would have a serious weight gain Shabbos, just because my movement is so much significantly less than it is on an average day. So it's something also to keep in mind how active you are. Like I'm a very active person in my everyday. I have a dog. I walk the dog. I take the kids to school. I'm at Hugim. I'm standing. I'm walking. I'm cleaning. I'm doing. I just have a very active lifestyle. So Shabbat, I barely move. Barely leave the house. So I like stretch, and I go out to dinner. Like that's what we do. So it's all about knowing yourself. And I want to make sure that we respect everyone's time and sign off, but keep asking these questions all week. And what I want to do is start conversations during the week. So then on the call, it's kind of, you've already been thinking all week. And then we're going to talk about the topic versus the way we have been doing it. So this week, we're actually going to lead around habits, or leading up to next week's call, but don't let that stop you from asking questions about portions all week long. Post pictures of your plate, veggie first, like take 4 pictures. Here's my half veggies. Now I added my carb. Now I added my protein first, then I added my carb, and then I moved on, right? Like if you really do it that way, you're not going to have to ask so many questions about what a portion is. It's really going to be pretty obvious. And then it's just about honesty. Am I heaping like I talked about those teaspoons or tablespoons, you know, or am I just being honest and tracking what I'm doing without judgment, you know, because it's no big deal. There's no wrong answer. There's no perfect portion that you're comparing yourself to. Just, does my best friend, the scale, tell me that this is working for me? I feel full. I feel satisfied. The scale's going down. Feel full. I feel satisfied. The scale is staying the same. Or I feel full and satisfied and the scale is going up, which isn't what I want. And that's the honest truth. That's what it's there for. I hope this was really valuable for you guys. And thank you so much for your time, your energy, and we love you guys to death. See you next week.
Bye guys, good night.